Why do you choose to work with Alpha International member firms?
When I started at the company, we had a strong foundation with a number of alpha firms, most prominently Johnson & Bell in Chicago, that had served as the national managing counsel for the company for decades before I arrived. So some of those foundations were well laid by the time I arrived.
Approximately, how many member firms do you use?
Certainly within the United States, we have at least a dozen or more firms with hundreds of matters that are with alpha firms at any given time.
What makes Alpha International member firms different than other law firms?
Well, for us, it started, I think, with that special relationship with one of the firms, Johnson & Bell, and then from that, relying on their understanding of our business and their level of cooperation, understanding, strategic thinking around the way the business operates, not just how the litigation impacts the business, was very helpful to us in making introductions to similarly minded attorneys across the country. As our role becomes more strategic, more business focused, and we expand our responsibilities, we look to the alpha firms to kind of fill in some of those. So the alpha firms, I guess I would say, would be one of the first places that we look if we have a matter, even if it's not historically within the scope of what we've used the firm for in the past. Because of their understanding of our business, their commitment to our strategic plan, we will look to those firms first to see if they have the expertise to expand into the other areas that we're looking for representation.
What does the Alpha International tagline, "Local relationships worldwide," mean to you?
Depending again on the type of matter, but certainly within our general liability portfolio, we are a very important client to a lot of small and mid-sized firms, and we like it that way, particularly as it relates to some of the, as I say, general liability, traditional insurance defense matters. It's incredibly important to present those cases with a local perspective, and so we value that, and we also value their support beyond just the individual matter. The mid to small size firms that are more local focused are very similar to our business. I mean, our stores are very locally focused. They're very active in their communities. So if we have a civil justice reform issue, or we may even have some type of social reform issue that we're looking at, local, small, mid-sized firms are far more responsive, we find, in those than the national big firms.
What value do you find in Alpha International publications?
I like the idea that you have a variety of depths that people can go. So, at my level, I have to be aware of those developments, and then when time permits, having the depth there, the expertise, so that I can spend the time getting a little more in the details is incredibly important. So I like actually all of those forms, because the brief update is incredibly important in keeping me moving forward, but when I then have the time, or a particular matter requires me to dig deeper, to have the compendium and things like that is incredibly important.
What value do you find in attending Alpha International seminars?
The seminars are great not just as a way of updating on content. I think they're a great way for us to get to know those firms that we partner with to advance our business interests and our address our legal liabilities at the same time. I think it's important. I consider myself blessed to have such a strong team of expertise and in-house functionality, where they're not just great lawyers, they're great people. And the seminars are a wonderful way to establish that same kind of connection with the outside counsel, so that you know that you're dealing with not just people who are experts in their field, but people who are, use sound judgment, who are just good people, and people that we want reflecting the character of our company.
Can you share a specific Alpha International success story with us?
We have many, and I would have a hard time calling out just one of them. I think for me, the successes aren't just within a particular case, a particular result, or granting of a summary judgment, or a successful trial, and we've certainly had a number of those with alpha firms. To me, what matters as much or more is the way in which they interact with our business, the way in which they help us advance our civil justice and other goals.